Welcome to Mind Coast. Thanks for being here. For those of you who are new, this intention builds off what we've already discussed on this channel. Now let's begin with our reflection. Intention 14. Strength through weakness. Can you call to mind the ideal self that you've established as pursuit worthy? Now ask yourself, how are you different from what you believe is worth devoting your existence to becoming? Are you unaware of how you're contributing to this development, or rather lack thereof? Or maybe you know exactly what bad habit or association or decision making it is that's standing in your way, but lack the willpower to withstand the discomfort of separating yourself, even while being aware that it's for the best. What does that acknowledgement, if not having the resolve to make better choices for yourself, leave you feeling? Is it disappointment, anger, maybe even self-pity? In each of our lives, all that we wish to change or remove or bring forth within ourselves that we can't exercise with our own willpower is meant to leave us with no choice but to realize the extent to which we don't have power, even within our individuality. It's not easy to accept how limited our willpower is, but if we still refuse to submit in pursuing our ideal self, then what we'll find is even greater than willpower, and that's conversion. The notion that our lives are ours to control is one that's widespread, to say the least, and it makes sense why that is. Most of us were taught early on in life that our actions lead to corresponding outcomes, and that we can do or become anything we set our mind on. Even for those of us who didn't grow up with anyone telling them this, just knowing that there are success stories of people who face similar odds is enough to ignite that self-hope. But I'm sure that we've all come to realize that life isn't as black and white as those foundational beliefs seem to depict. As sad as it may seem to be, it's a fact that right now, most of us are not doing the work or living the life that we imagined for ourselves when we first thoughtfully considered becoming anything we want to be, let alone still holding on to or even remembering those aspirations. Our personal efforts and their results aren't nearly as congruent as we start off believing, and the same is true for everyone else, for better and worse. On the level of working to position ourselves in society, that much isn't too difficult to grasp. But tying this idea more intrinsically with our discussion topic, even on the personal level of who we want to become and what we decide to stand for, which lies fully within our authority, there's a struggle to uphold the control to do so. It's easy enough to make goals for ourselves and plan how to get there. But when it comes down to the actual daily execution, it feels so much easier to give up that progression just to not feel any more hardship. Even when it's of necessity or to the benefit of our own health or close relationships, it's such a struggle to change what we've grown comfortable with. What exactly is it that seems to activate hesitation just when we're about to put our thoughts of self-improvement into action? The truth behind that rift between our thoughts and motivation isn't as complex as you might think. That inability to fully commit to the process of refinement and that hesitation for facing the discomfort of change, or in other words, that weakness, is simply a part of who you are, a part that we all often fail to acknowledge. It's an intrinsic part of humanity that we all share, and anyone who doesn't think so simply enjoys the bliss of ignorance and the chance fortune of circumstance. We struggle and fail to live up to our own principles. We struggle and fail to accept where our abilities lie. And at times, we sink even lower than we ever thought we were capable of. None of this would sound shocking when brought up in a general sense. But when it's active in our own life, we're so quick to give in to despair and cope however we see fit. Yet in doing so, we're unable to grasp the entirety of our circumstance, which is that even if weakness can't be ignored, we have the potential to one day fashion it into strength. If you're ready to move past your own self-pity, then think back to our opening reflection about the ideal self that you've constructed and the weaknesses that are standing in the way of the current you. Those deficiencies that we've come to fully acknowledge don't just leave us with our work cut out for us. They also give us the opportunity to mature our understanding of reality and establish healthier priorities and goals in our lives. Knowing that our lack of control doesn't just exist outside of ourselves, but that even internally there's a constant battle for willpower, can cause us to reconsider some of the lofty aspirations we previously established. I know losing belief in our hopes is a very hard pill to swallow, but as I mentioned earlier, that acknowledgement allows us to mature how we understand our place in the world. The limits of our abilities today may not meet the demands of the goals for tomorrow, but if meeting those limits is all we're capable of right now, then in doing so, that's victory in the present day. And that's the priority we should be holding on to. Being able to understand that the most value in pride doesn't lie in the desired outcome of our efforts, but in the persistent offering in search to expand our best effort, is right at the heart of self-clarity. Having such a profound level of understanding for both reality and ourself is something that we can take into the goals we establish, from which we measure our capability. Those goals may be the exact same as they were before coming to a proper understanding of the limits we hold. But what should be present now that wasn't before is a true sense for measuring ourselves based on what we're presently capable of, and a motivation that lives on past undesirable outcomes. That's what we should strive for our weakness to lead us to. The knowledge that its inescapable presence doesn't mean its influence can't be diminished. Not meeting our goals, standards, or desires isn't a sign of failure or a reason to get depressed. But in the presence of that discomfort, being able to persist in self-improvement and hope in the unfinished self-work is a sign of true strength. But strength alone is just being able to bear what life throws our way without crumbling under its weight. However, I'm certain that what we're all here for is more than just durability to withstand our challenges. Mind Coast is for us to seek out victory in every aspect of our lives, to the point where we can share with others how to achieve the same for themselves without unintentionally leading them astray. That kind of triumph takes more than just strength. It requires faith. That's a topic that constantly presents itself across our different discussions, and that's certain to continue happening because it truly is the most important part of any progress that we want to make in our lives. In chapter 12 of St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians, Paul mentions being given a thorn in the flesh from a messenger of Satan. But a contextual analysis of Scripture is what translates this to be understood as what we've thus far defined as weakness, a character deficiency or sinful lifestyle that we're struggling to part with. Paul begs the Lord to remove his burden, but God responds by saying, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is perfected in weakness." Take a moment to really think about what that response means. God is telling us that everything that has brought us to personally know and encounter weakness can be successfully navigated through by relying on not our own strength and wisdom, but His grace. In other words, if in the present moment our perspective doesn't offer us enough hope, if we place our trust instead in God's promise of a way to the victory that He's designated for each of us, then we'll be blessed with the peace to face any challenge in the present or to be, with the belief that the restoration of our comfort is only a matter of time. And that's what strength perfected in weakness is. So never stop trying to be a better person, and never doubt in our good Lord. Trust in Him always. Trust in Him more and more every day, so that your mind and heart will have rest in every circumstance, so that your best efforts will be enough to take comfort in. It's okay to have room for improvement. Don't run from it. Face it head on, with faith. And know that everyone here at Mind Coast is with you, doing just the same. Thanks for listening, everyone. Feel welcome to join our community, and I hope we meet again. Peace.